objections there were to this one, I think we handled with any, actually, I don't think we reworded this one, but there was a concern about what is sufficient and is it enforceable or not. The TRC did vote yes for this one because we think it's still useful, because we definitely need to get those DBPs away from the swimmers. This is that same section, and for each subsequent section that was added, it's in blue there. So the previous change request was this part that's underlined in black, and this new one for 462781-3 is this new part that's in blue. And it's saying that where a source capture exhaust system is provided, the air handling system shall be designed to help move the air on the water surface towards the exhaust. And the exhaust air should not be allowed to mix with any return airflow to the air handling system. So that's just kind of common sense for the whole objective of what we're trying to achieve here. The only con to this was basically, you know, where is the justification and the supporting data? And essentially that's in the ASHRAE guidelines rather than the ASHRAE standards. And the TRC did vote yes for that. 462781-4. This is the next point that we're adding to the bottom of this list here. So in blue, air velocity shall not exceed 30 feet per minute, so as not to increase the evaporation rate and dehumidification requirement unless adjustments are made to the evaporation rate as stated in section 46271. So the objection to this one was, where did that 30 feet per minute value come from? And that is straight from the ASHRAE standards. And so the TRC did vote for yes for this one. All right, 46279-1. This is basically just to do a little bit of rewording and clarification, and to confirm that we want to make sure that whatever exhaust air that contains contaminants does not come in and contaminate your air. And so the air handling system shall be located to avoid reentrainment of the air and contaminants. So it's just adding in that contaminant language. It includes air handling system exhaust. So just to add more clarification to the section. And I don't think there were any objections to this particular change request, and the TRC voted yes for it. 4627111-1 just updates the ASHRAE standard, and it was voted yes by the TRC. 4627112-1 changes this so in pretty significantly as far as outdoor air. If a system is designed with the purge mode, the outdoor air delivered during purge shall be heated or conditioned to a temperature and humidity established by the HVAC design engineer to address any condensation in the duct system, the air handling system, and the building surfaces. Now, this is a completely new requirement that was not there before. So before it was saying, you don't need to treat that purge air at all. And this is saying, well, you know, it would probably be a good idea to treat it to make sure you don't get condensation and then get mold growth and all the other things that can happen from that condensation. It was originally written differently. The rewording was to give it a little bit more leeway. So you don't necessarily need to condition it to the point where it's exactly like your indoor air, but that's up then to the design professionals to figure out, okay, what do you need to do to prevent condensation on these surfaces when you are pulling in air from the outside. So there is a significant change. So make sure that you read the original change request with the text in there, and then read the new version that's in the TRC review form. This is a change. This is still a change, and so it would incur additional cost per facility. There was no cost information in the change request to estimate, well, you know, how much more would it cost in order to be able to do this. The TRC did vote yes for it because it would be good, obviously, to prevent condensation on these surfaces when you are pulling outside air in, and but definitely take a look at it and look at this change request and see what you think. 46281-1. is all about the operating manual and making sure that the operating manual has the stuff in it that needs to be in there. So I think it's all probably pretty obvious what all needs to be in it, and any objections that we had for wording, I think we addressed during the editing process when the TRC was reviewing this. But just things like manufacturer's operation and maintenance manuals, need to be part of the overall operation and maintenance manual, mechanical drawings and specifications. So I think all of it's probably fairly obvious kinds of things that need to be included in there. And the TRC did vote yes for this one. 46292-1 revises the content for the commissioning. And again, when you're commissioning a system, you need to make sure that it's actually working properly. One of the provisions in there, kind of towards the middle there, it says during all modes of operation, you need to verify the operation, make sure that the supply air is flowing into space, and everything is working. So it's just providing more detail into what do you really need to check when you do that commissioning to make sure that everything is okay before you give it the seal of approval. I think the only objections to this were some wording changes that we made in the change request, and the TRC did vote yes for this. All right, 462-0002. This is the overall change request that reorganizes everything and then puts it into a structure that actually makes sense. I'm not going to try to go through the whole thing. It'd be impossible to do that. So please look at this change request, pull it down from the CMAQ website, and then pull down from the comments that document that gives you that kind of decoder of all the individual change requests and then how they fit into that overarching structure of the 462 section that the indoor air quality people reorganized. So just in general, after looking through it, the TRC voted yes for this. The con on this one from the other committees was that, well, it's difficult to follow the changes, which is why that other document was created so that you can follow it and you can see what changes were made. All right, so that concludes all the change requests from the Indoor Air Quality Committee, but there are also some change requests that were submitted by individuals that we need to talk about. The first one is 422-1. Now, this one is a big change. This would require compliance with specific air contaminant concentration limits before a system could be signed off on and a facility could open. So I didn't try to duplicate the entire change request on this slide because it wouldn't fit. It would have to do multiple slides. But basically, there's a requirement that before you open a facility, you need to test for a bunch of different contaminants, make sure that they reach certain criteria, and if not, then it needs to be remediated before you can open the facility. And the list of contaminants includes acetaldehyde, benzene, styrene, toluene, naphthalene, dichlorobenzene, xylenes, total volatile organic compounds, ozone, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, PM2.5, trichloramine, and chloroform. So this is a big change request with a lot of detail in it, and I'm glossing over a lot of the detail. It provides the contaminants, it provides the limits, and it also provides testing methods that can be used to test for these particular contaminants. The pros are that it would certainly minimize health effects from indoor air pollutants. When you build a new building, there's a lot of different airborne contaminants that can end up from your materials. And so it makes sure that those levels are within safe levels as defined by various organizations. So the concentration limits that are in the change request, some of them come from EPA, some from Cal EPA, some from NIOSH, some from LEED, some from the World Health Organization, and some from the American Congress of Governmental Industrial Hygienists. That's what the ACGIH is. The test methods that are in there are, again, a mix, some from EPA, some are ISO, some are ASTM, some are NIOSH methods. So there was a lot of research that went into this particular change request and the different pollutants, what would be acceptable levels, and how would you actually analyze for them. There are some estimated costs for what it would take to test for all these, and it's estimated to be approximately $3,500 to do the testing, and that's assuming that you pass the first time, because if you have to remediate and then test again, then there would be additional costs for that. And then there would be the delay in opening the facility until all your test results are obtained. And then if you don't pass any of them, then you would have to go back and remediate. And so that would result in further delays. And yeah, like we all know, time is money. And so a lot of people, when they build a facility, they want to get open as quickly as possible so they can start getting revenue coming in. And this would be a delay in that process because everything would have to be in place before you can even do the testing. It needs to be a fully functional facility so that you can get a proper reading. So everything has to be done first, and then you do your testing, then you wait for your results. So just in general, the TRC voted no for this. We thought that this was probably better suited to a green standard that would be optional rather than a requirement in the Mall Aquatic Health Code. There was also an issue with the trichloramine method. There was a comment that was submitted saying that the particular method that was listed in there is not acceptable. And of course, you know, things like trichloramine, that's going to vary with your bather load, but you haven't opened the facility yet, so you don't have your bathers there yet. So there's some issues as far as, you know, trichloramine and measuring it before your facility is opened. So just in general, this would be a major change to the Mall Aquatic Health Code, and the TRC voted no for it. All right, 49141-1. It was to try to clarify some of the equipment room ventilation requirements by doing the rewording there. And I won't sit here and read that to you. But when the TRC read this and read the original, we didn't think that it really helped to clarify things. So we voted no for this particular change request. Again, read it for yourselves, you know, determine whether you think it's more clear the original or more clear with the change, and, you know, vote with whatever you think it would be. But the TRC thought that the original text was actually more clear. All right, 56231-1 is taking out a requirement here that's, I guess, not really a requirement, it's more of an exception, sorry. The original text was the air handling system operation and maintenance requirements do not include mechanical rooms, bather and locker rooms, and the associated rooms which have a direct opening to the aquatic facility. And you know how we talked earlier about what's the definition of indoor aquatic facility, and it does not include the mechanical rooms, the bather and locker rooms, any associated rooms. And so this is, again, just kind of stating the obvious. And so it could be said, well, we don't need to state the obvious. We can just delete this. The TRC did vote no to this change request because even though this text is obvious based on the definition of indoor aquatic facility, we thought that it would help to put it in there because a lot of people don't go back and look at the definition of indoor aquatic facility and might not realize that the air handling system for the indoor aquatic facility does not include these different areas. So again, kind of confusing there, but if you look at the definition, then it makes sense. And so that's what this comment is again, just to define what the indoor aquatic facility actually means according to the definition in the Mall Aquatic Health Code, and how, okay, you know, even though this text is, you know, obvious and we shouldn't need it, TRC thought that it would still be good to go ahead and keep the text in there. All right, wow. Okay, we have 10 minutes left for questions. That was my last slide.
Hi, Ellen, this is Jen. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding CR 46278-0001, there was a reference to the removal. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was trying to escape out so I could look through these more quickly. 47 what?
46278-0001. There was a reference regarding the removal of trichloramines. Just a couple quick things. Trichloramines was hyphenated. Shouldn't have been. And then also, just in general, what is meant by the plural of trichloramines? And also, why are we singling out trichloramines instead of just saying the removal of chloramines? Because essentially what that CR is doing would result in the removal of, you know, the family of chloramines as opposed to just simply trichloramine.
Yes, let me reshare. Sorry, I should have just gone ahead and stayed sharing. We are here. Sorry, can you guys all see it now? So 46278-1, is that the one you're talking about?
46278-0001. Yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Again, we were really under the gun with trying to get all these change requests through. And so there could be things like the dash, right, for trichloramine in the plural, that I did not catch that at all. And that would be good to do that edit to it. So I'm going to write that down now.
And then also, just why did we single out trichloramine as opposed to just chloramines? Because essentially this would result in the removal of chloramines in general.
Yeah, actually to say volatile chloramines.
That's probably more accurate, yeah.
Yeah, would probably be.
And then the plural makes sense at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for
Ellen,
those edits. Yeah.
Ellen, if I can step in for just a second, just some background information for everyone. CMAC started working with Purdue University and Dr. Blatchley on putting together a set of research to study indoor air quality. And I don't have the parameters of that research in front of me, but some of these CRs came out of specific research performed at Purdue based on this series of this study that we commissioned. It is not complete yet. We have we finished the first 2 phases, and we're still working on funding for a 3rd phase to complete that aspect of the study. I'd have to go back and look at a bunch of notes to see exactly what was covered or get input from Dr. Blatchley, but just some background there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Chip talked about some of that work at the World Aquatic Health Conference last week. And as far as I could tell from his talk, I don't think that would be in conflict with any of these change requests. But yeah, hopefully then we can further improve the MAC based on that research that he's doing. Thank you.
So do you mind if I just respond?
Oh, hey, there you are, Chip. Hey.
How are you, Ellen?
Good.
So great presentation, by the way. So, I mean, I agree with Jen that, trichloramine is clearly not the only volatile chemical we care about. It is sort of a sentinel compound in the sense that it's probably the most volatile of the compounds that we do care about, and it's the one that expresses the greatest odor. So, I mean, I think if you set up a system to control trichloramine, you're probably going to be in good shape with respect to controlling the others, although that's not a certainty. In a strict sense, I think this should really be referring to all of the volatile chemicals that are present in water, because really, if you release trichloramine, you're going to release the rest of them as well. It's just that we can smell trichloramine pretty easily, whereas we don't necessarily smell the rest of them. So I'm not sure if that addresses your question or your comment, Jen, but.
Yeah, Chip, I agree 100%. And I think Ellen's suggestion to change the wording to suggest that says removal of volatile chloramines would sort of speak to all the points we're all agreeing on here.
Okay. I also put a couple comments in the chat. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to discuss them because we're not ready yet to provide more clear guidance. But I think, I saw several places in the CRs, there was recommendations for airflow rates based on, for example, deck area, and there's nothing to account for the number of swimmers. And those are clearly fundamental flaws. So again, we're not in a position to provide numerical inputs on either of those things yet. So really sort of looking forward, that's what we're hoping to be able to provide relative to these things. And I don't have a specific suggestion to improve that for the time being. So it's really just sort of food for thought.
Yeah, the indoor air quality, they weren't trying to go beyond what was in the ASHRAE standards and guidelines. And so they were kind of stuck with that, okay, the bather load or whatever, the theoretical peak occupancy only applies to the non-swim areas. But clearly that has a huge effect on the indoor air quality if you have a lot of swimmers in the water versus if you don't. And so, but they didn't try to go beyond what was currently in the ASHRAE standards. It was enough just to try to get the ASHRAE standard provisions into the MAC itself. And so, yeah, hopefully then in the next round, we can address some of those issues like you just mentioned, Chip. And then we'll have your data. Thank you. All right, anything else?
I just want to give a big thank you to, obviously Ellen for this presentation. And as a TRC member, the information coming through from the Indoor Air Quality Committee was significant, and it was a lot to sort through. So just on behalf of CMAC, thank you, Ellen, for taking that task on as the CR champion. That was a ton of work. I also want to thank, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say thank you to the IAQ because, yeah, we were emailing back and forth and I was just like, well, what about this? And they were like educating me through the whole process too. And so, yeah, hats off to them for, getting me partially up to speed on HVAC systems because I started ground zero with knowing nothing. And so that they had to educate me a lot so I could actually talk about this with any kind of sort of, knowing what I was talking about.
Yes, and again, thanks to the Indoor Air Quality Committee. Again, it's another group of brilliant people, and I'm going to kind of go off script for a minute, but it's just another great example of how CMAC, through this thing called the MAC, are really able to pull together all these really, really brilliant people, sometimes scarily brilliant. To go through and really try to find out what's best for public health. And it's really, on behalf of the entire team, it's a pleasure to be able to interact with these really, really competent individuals that are our volunteers. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Blatchley for his leadership on the Indoor Air Quality Committee, and specifically for his work at Purdue with this innovative research in indoor air quality. I'll also go off script for a minute and thank everyone for their support for CMAC. And just, we're always in need of research dollars. We have a very interesting research agenda that's planned, but of course that takes funds. And of course with COVID, and the ripple effect on the aquatic industry, it's been interesting to say the least. So if anyone listening, if your company wishes to be a sponsor for some of the research that we're doing, please reach out to Christy Reister, and she can talk more about what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish in the future.
So I can't see the chat box. Were there any other questions in the chat box?
Hi, Ellen. This is Eric Lay. I had a comment more than a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if we're in a situation all alone here ourselves, but I guess I just wanted to reiterate that at least in Montana, we aren't able to adopt specific design and equipment standards into our state rules, not on the public health side anyways. And so the cooperation between organizations such as the CMOC and ISPSC is going to be of big interest to us. We are pretty much tied to, just using ventilation as an example, we're tied to the standards that are in building codes. So specific building codes and the ISPSC itself. So we have found that has been particularly limiting to us in the past. In fact, last year or two, we've had specific situations come up with facilities that had very subpar ventilation, and we found it fairly hard to do anything about that. So.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that the consistency committee, I don't know if Jen Hatfield's on the line or not, but to maybe see if possibly maybe some of these things that, once we vote on the Model Aquatic Health Code and, see whether these actually go in or not, whether they would want to be, duplicated over into the ISPSC or find some other way for jurisdictions like yours that, that don't have the ability for the public health folks to include air quality provisions.
Okay, thanks. Just the ventilation discussion got me thinking about that. So that was a good point to throw that out there. So thank you.
And,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
that's just one example, huh? Where you
Just one example.
Areas,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Another great example would be there's no turnover rate for spas in the ISPSC. So that's
Whoa, really?
interesting. Yeah. So pools and other facilities have turnover rates listed, but not for spas. So those are just 2 examples now. But anyways.
Yeah, there's not really
Thanks.
a formal change request process for the ISPSC, but I'm making a note to, send a note to Jennifer Hatfield to raise that issue. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you all. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Christy for a few closing comments and to set up our networking lunch. So without a further ado, Christy Reister, our Executive Director.
Thanks, Dewey. Thanks, Ellen. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you. All right, well, it is time for our networking lunch. So I hope that you will join us, grab your lunch or a snack. I know for me and those of you on Pacific time, it's only 10 a.m. But maybe that's a cup of coffee or a drink. And please join us so we can socialize and network and get to know each other and just talk about, anything you guys want to talk about regarding the CMAC, the MAC, any projects we're working on, anything you guys would like to know. We'd love to chat with you and connect. So please join us for that. And we'll just stay right here for the next hour. So love to get some interaction and dialogue going.
Did everyone get their lunch coupons?
No, I didn't, but that's okay. At least I'm registered. Thank you, Susan.
I'm sorry you missed out on those great stress balls, Ellen.
I think I'll need it probably for the senior Gassett discussions, but I think I'll be okay until then.
There was a question that came in, Ellen, that said, did 4.6.2.6.2-001 say you could turn down when seating was occupied?
Yeah, let me find that. It's 46267. No, 46262. 46262.
That question was from Bob. It looks like he might be on. I'm not sure. Maybe we could also respond in the chat just in case if anybody stepped away.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll respond in the chat.
Well, and then Bob Vincent just waved real quick and then turned off his camera. I saw you. There he is. You're on mute. Hi.
Something you wouldn't want to see that.
Trust me, this extrovert wants to see everybody, all these faces.
I'm gonna try to respond to that message, but I don't know if the formatting with the underlining and cross throughs will come through. No, it did not.
For our public health friends, how many of your pools this summer actually opened?
Most of the commercial ones were closed, YMCA's, water parks, from March until August. And then a number of the HOAs and condos and homeowners associations closed theirs because it was easier. But we didn't require that. And 5 counties did require reduction to about 25% of bathing load and 25% of deck occupancy. And then they had other restrictions too for distancing and masks and frequently touched surface sanitation. But all of those were released about October 1st. And we still see that some aren't open yet just because they've let them go green and they've got a big mess on their hands.
Mm. And you're in Florida, right, Bob?
Correct.
So you have mosquito magnets everywhere now.
Yeah, but we have plenty of water everywhere. You can't get rid of the water here. You can't get mosquitoes here easily. They have, literal air forces in some of the coastal counties to spray large swaths of land with malathion, and it would go into external outdoor pools as well. So, and then we have made recommendations in the past, and we are still to larvicide. If you're going to let something go green, just drop some of those Alticid briquettes in there, and it'll take care of that. Or if you've got some mosquito minnows, drop them in there, and they'll eat up everything. How about us?
Hey, Brady.
Hey, Christy, how are you? Hey,
I'm
Bob.
good. How are you?
I'm all right. Just absorbing.
I know, it's a lot. I'm going to I have some questions that we kind of came up with to kind of help encourage some dialogue. And it looks like about 90% of pools opened in Utah and 70% in the Columbus, Ohio area. Here in Arizona, they were pretty much open. Most of ours are outdoors though too, so I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference too. We have very few indoor pools.
Yeah.
I'm actually, Bob, I'm over in Alachua County.
Right.
One of the first and only counties to close everything all the time, all at once. We did, I was on the phone following that with Hutch. I don't know if you know him at all, the chair for the board of commissioners, that night until about 2 a.m. to get service guys and pool stores to be open and permitted to go out in the field and considered to be essential. So it was really touch and go there for a little bit, but we did get it to turn around. So.
Yeah, that was quite a hurdle for a lot of places because it seems like they didn't deem those essential services, and we know they are.
I was on the phone with folks in Michigan, folks in Wisconsin, out in California, and because I teach, so I wasn't essential anyway. And I wasn't gonna be, so I figured why not. And then as these areas were popping up where pool stores couldn't open and service companies couldn't go out, we were just anybody who there was no chance in heck that was going to happen. We were just on the phones calling around trying to get them to see, the other side. Ultimately, promising mask wearing and concerns with threat of another outbreak, waterborne, breaking out in people's backyards while we're chasing COVID was what we managed to leverage to get it to turn. But I think eventually everybody got open. I think, what was it Wisconsin or Michigan was the last one? But it took a while.
Right, and I think the material that CDC provided us on Legionella in hot tubs was a real driver too. We pointed that out to a lot of people. We said, don't let your spa go green if you're going to stop using it. Empty it if you can. But
there was also a major concern with an increase in drowning risk, clarity of water. All the schools closed, more children home than ever. And if full service companies couldn't get in people's backyards and people couldn't get chemicals from pool stores, that was also going to be a huge, huge increase in risk. And, I hate to use those examples, but that's the threat of water. And luckily everybody was able to get out there and I believe for the most part complied with the mask wearing requirements and such. So it worked, but gosh, it took a while. So Christy, how's your first year going?
Fantastic. It's been amazing.
Are you into year 2 yet?
Well, I started in June of last year. So it's been
a year and a couple of months.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's been great. It's been awesome. We have an amazing board. We have amazing committees, amazing volunteers. We have an amazing team that we work with at the CDC.
Good.
Yeah, that's been really great. So, and of course, my peers that I work with are just phenomenal. So
everybody seems like a great bunch of folks. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, we've got some great projects, as I mentioned yesterday, that we're working on. Really excited about our website. We all struggle. I know our website can be challenging to navigate, so we're really excited to get that done. And we're on Facebook now, which is exciting. I know you've got a big presence on Facebook, so we're excited to finally be on Facebook and help share our message there as well.
I told you you can share that in my group. You're in there too, so share your page in there and tell them to like you, follow you, and see all the new stuff you have going on. You definitely have my welcome and permission to do that.
Thank you. I will do that.
Yeah, hi, Christy. It's Bob Ledke.
Hey, Bob.
Is Ellen still on?
Let's see.
No.
Yes, I am. Sorry, I was sending my email to Jennifer Hatfield, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, it was my question about 4.6.2, 6.2-0001. I mean, you were going so fast. I think there might have been a typo, and it said you could turn down when stadium seating was occupied rather than not occupied.
Yeah, actually, it's both. In a pool area, yeah, you could only turn the airflow down when it's unoccupied. But according to ASHRAE standards, if you have a stadium seating area, if you have low occupation versus high occupation, you can turn it down when you have, just a few people there. And so, yeah, there is a turn down when occupied, and that option you don't have for the area where the pool is, but in the stadium seating area you do have. So it was not a typo.
Is there a recommendation with that? Sorry, Ellen, is there a recommendation with that if they do turn down when unoccupied, how much time prior to being occupied that we need to turn that back up again?
I don't think I saw that anywhere in
Should
the
it be
change
in there?
requests. And I haven't read the ASHRAE standards thoroughly enough to know whether it's in there, but I don't think it was from the stuff that I did read. And should it be in there? Yeah, that would probably be
I
a
would
really
think
good
so.
idea.
See, it was
Yeah,
worth me showing up.
yeah.
Well, I was just, yeah, if we turn it down and we definitely need to flush air through there a lot quicker before we start seating people. And that was just my concern there. So,
Yeah, I can send that recommendation to the indoor air quality folks, and then I think it's too late for this round of the MAC, but for the next round, they could add that on their wish list.
Yeah, I think the original CR said that you could turn it down. Let's see, when it was lower than theoretical peak occupancy, was what the original said. It just didn't say when it was occupied.
Yeah,
So,
a number of the change requests went through significant editings during the TRC process. So yeah, if you want to see the final text, it's in the TRC form.
yeah. Okay, it was just a question because it just didn't seem as clear as it could be.
A lot, I had to learn a lot in order to even review these change requests, so I wouldn't get all confused. And I still get confused sometimes reading them. And I just have to remind myself, okay, no, Ellen, you have to remember this definition, and then it makes sense. Yeah, so I think that could be said of a lot of them, but you just kind of have to dig into the details for it to make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
There's a question in the chat that says, how does the average inspector check compliance with the ASHRAE standard during a routine inspection? Equipment often gets changes after plan review.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how the MAC says it, but like any significant changes, need to be reviewed by the health inspectors. So that bit should be part of the, any adjustments to the plan need to be reviewed essentially. And so that should be reviewed by the public health inspectors when changes are made. Yeah, when they're actually just doing their inspection where they, during operation and come do an inspection during operations. Yeah, there's a lot of things in there that it would be really hard, to check, but during the design phase of any changes, that should all go through the public health folks. Again, whether it does or not I'm sure there's a lot of variability there.
Yeah. Well, I put together some question prompts. I don't know if this one is sparking anyone to start a conversation.
well, I pretty much teach online instead of in person nowadays, if that counts.
For sure.
With Bob's blessing. So I haven't really been, I'm usually all over the country, all over and over the globe at different points in time, but with travel restrictions and social distancing and all of that, even at this point in time, I know some folks are teaching face-to-face, but I just don't see easily managing social distancing in some of those setups for me anyway. I'm one of those that teach poolside in the pump rooms and all of that, and just trying to squeeze folks into tight places with masks on isn't going to cut it. So I'm still online at this point.
Yeah. For those of my folks on here that I see Jill, I don't know if Joe's on or not, but I don't know, Jill, if you're on or if you stepped away from your if you stepped away from her computer, but I know that at least as far as operators in Arizona, we had a lot of meetings and we're trying to figure out how what swim lessons were going to look like. And maybe even Dewey wants to talk about what they're looking like for him at his facility. I know my daughter is still swimming on swim team, and they're doing a pretty good job kind of keeping him as distanced as you can. But
Hey, I'm here. Hey, Christy.
hey, Jill. Yeah, I'm dying to know how swim lessons went.
Yeah, it's been kind of like everything else, all over the place, depending on location, depending on size of facility, the types of programs. Some facilities went to doing private only, one-on-one, depending on the age of the child. Other facilities went to a model where they were trying to get parents or an adult in the water with the child. So the instructor was teaching more from on deck, distanced on deck. And rather than, actually physically making contact with the students, directing, almost like you would teach a parent-child baby class, only extending that out into even some of the older kids. That was met with mixed results. What we were trying to promote within the Starfish Swimming Network was to kind of look at swim lessons differently. And instead of trying to do them the traditional way, where you've got your levels and you've got, a group of kids comes in, they're assigned to one instructor and then go through the 30-minute lesson, then you have another group come in. And instead do it more like you would do in a camp program, where the family units come together and then run them through station methods, where there's stations set up all over the deck with different topics. Like one topic might be life jackets, another topic might be floating, another topic might be stroke development. And then the family unit kind of goes from station to station independently with the help of an instructor along the way. So it forced people to become kind of creative, which I think was good in a way. Yeah, so there's been some very interesting things out there with swim lessons this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love how everybody pivoted and found a way.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's so important for.
Yeah. Some things were also put online just for the educational portion of it, and just to kind of keep parents informed and keep swimming and water safety in the forefront for people.
Well, I think that's such a good point too, Jill, is that, a lot of times, I managed facilities for a lot of years. So it's like, and you would see, parents pretty much just send their kid to the pool and leave, or, even in swim lessons, just are kind of doing their own thing or doing something else. And I think it's a good way to remind parents that they're part of that process, and that, that they do need to be engaged with their children.
Exactly. Yeah, and that works for those that can do that have the financial means and the time means to be able to do that. What's unfortunate though is all the situations where the kids are kind of on their own and there isn't an adult that can bring them because of family circumstances or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that discrepancy between those two groups of people within users of the pool has probably widened during this more than ever. So it's going to be, I think, a real challenge to kind of bring that all back once we can get face to face. But yeah, engaging those parents, I think, has been huge.
We had a little bit less of a pivot in that about 1.5 years ago, based on, kind of changing demographics and surveys, and honestly, just trying to staff traditional things. We had basically shifted away, at least temporarily, from group lessons into one-on-one anyway. Yeah. So we just had kind of a dead period where we didn't do anything. And then we started easing in as staff and parents were comfortable with that kind of impact. So,
what kind of protection do you have your instructors wearing when they're in the water with kids? Are they wearing a face shield? Is it just nothing?
Yeah, just nothing. Yeah. Everybody gets screened pretty well coming in, and I got to be honest, we haven't had an issue yet with programs like that. The only issue I had was with an in-service where somebody popped up positive 3 days later. So that outside of that is we've been pretty lucky in that regards.
Are you guys taking temperatures of people as they come into the facility?
Yeah, temperatures and questionnaires. And honestly, we're seeing a lot of parents that are they're just wanting to wait anyway
Mhm.
and just put everything on hold. I had my staff just kind of reach out to their assigned students and just touch base when the state allowed us to get to a certain level of reopening, and our phase 2 basically, and almost universally they were like, yeah, we're on hold for a little bit. And then sometime around 1st of August, we saw those parents starting to get more comfortable with coming in to lessons and instructional settings. It's definitely been a challenge.
Yeah. All right, let's see, got some more. This is a good one. I'm curious what type of education or training, any webinars you guys would like to see us do. This is one of the things that our new education committee that I talked about yesterday is working on. And I know we're going to send out a questionnaire, but we definitely are really working hard to make sure that we're providing exceptional value to our membership and everyone that comes across our website, and would definitely love any input you guys have on what would be beneficial.
Hi, Christy. This is Jen.
Hey.
Hi. We were talking about some interesting things during our caucus yesterday. And one thing that we had like a lot of good discussion about, different CRs and how to navigate the website, and maybe some considerations for, the upcoming website. I know Susan made a lot of great notes during our caucus discussion. But one thing that I thought about since our caucus was, there's a lot of CRs that impact different groups. And I know our caucusing is basically set up to be within specific different pool industry demographic. So kind of segregating different groups like manufacturers versus, public health officials and stuff like that. So we're really separated. And this conference, we only have a couple hours to have like a total open forum. And I'm really glad that we're doing this virtually, but as in past, when we get up and we can line up and do like a little bit of Q&A with all the different presentations that are being given on various CRs, we have less of that opportunity this go around. And I was thinking that maybe it might be interesting in a future conference to have some caucusing that has where you can go based on topic that you're interested in, or some variety. So maybe there's some sense to keeping the groups, but then maybe for some caucusing, it's not segregated by group so much as it is by topic. So you can get a variety of folks that want to talk about the same things, and different groups with different backgrounds being able to talk to one another about those topics that impact all of them.
It's a great suggestion. Thank you.
I don't know what others think about that, but
I like that. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah. Hey,
So
Jen,
Jen, are you talking,
sorry, go ahead.
are you talking in lieu of some of the other caucuses or additional caucuses?
well, we have, like, for example, this conference, we have several different caucusing sessions. And I know sometimes it's helpful to do that because then you can talk about the CRs that were just reviewed. And so it's kind of fresh in your mind. But then there's the advantage. So it'd just be a matter of how we want to organize it. But I wouldn't say necessarily that there's value to only doing it by, background versus only doing it by topic. I think it would be good to have a little bit of both.
Okay.
Oh, I have a question in the chat that says, would folks mind sharing your opinion of online CPO courses? We have rules requiring hands-on participation in the class and have been prohibiting online courses, but of course with COVID, we have been getting a lot of pushback from a hotel association to allow online training. And I don't know, Rudy, if you want to talk about this, because I think you are doing some online classes.
I do, yeah, quite a few, but I want to see the question. We have rules
also check on that
requiring
as well.
hands-on participation. Who has rules? Where's Eric at?
That would be Montana.
What rule? Well, Montana is the one state that doesn't approve of the online CPO course, so you can't use it there anyway.
That's correct.
Well, in New York, we allowed to use it as well, and I
What's
actually
that?
do work for a hotel.
Okay, I thought Montana was the,
I'm sorry.
I believe, well, if you want to see a 100% online pool operator
Hello?
training course, am I allowed to drop my website? You can come see me. I'll hook you up. As far as Montana goes, we can't teach online classes. It's the folks that are there, they can't utilize the online class. As far as the rest of the states go, some of them have been approved for online training forever going forward. Some have special stipulations, like with Florida, we have to have a third-party proctor actually run the exam portion. I can't proctor that for someone in Florida. Georgia, I think, is through April 21st of 2021 where they're going to accept it. So it's really kind of all over the place and state by state. But is the hands-on option in Montana the reason why the course isn't approved there for online? Because I wasn't
It's part of it.
I wasn't aware. I mean, I teach my classes when I'm face-to-face, pretty much 75% hands-on anyway, just because I learn better that way. So I like to teach better that way. And I know I'm not for everybody. Some folks like the lecture sessions and such, but I didn't know there was a requirement in Montana for that. But it's been challenging. I try to work, I have some videos of some different things. I still have all my props and stuff. The hardest thing for me in teaching the class online, I'm not someone to sit still. I get up, I walk the room, I'm outside. And so I was constantly getting up and leaving in front of the chair, and that had to get used to sitting down. But outside of that, the course, it's been working well.
I think a lot depends on too how it's defined for online. I know for CPO, there's like one version of online. It's either online or it's in person. Our Aquatech program, which was just CMAQ certified, has interactive online self-study portions combined with a virtual proctored exam. So, everybody kind of lumps online as one method of online, and really there's a lot of nuances in there that can make it different and more effective, I think, sometimes, depending on your audience.
I agree. And I think everybody going forward, as long as they stick with it beyond COVID, we could probably develop some really cool stuff. But if it flips off like a light switch once we're done with this and goes away, then it, end wherever it is.
Yeah.
I know we have the two different options where you can run through the NSP or the PHTA's POP portion, and then do 1 day in session virtual with the instructor, or you can just do the 2-day session with the instructor as always, just not, classroom poolside environment. But there's definitely room to grow. I think we all kind of just said, oh my God, what do we do? Okay, let's.
Came out of necessity. We have to do something.
Where's Zoom? Which one of us here in this room, though, I want to know who was smart enough to buy stock in Zoom last year, because that's the person I want to follow.
I wish.
Hey, Susan, how are you? I
Good.
don't think we've ever seen each other face to face.
I don't think so.
We've spoken a few times.
Yeah.
So-
I was talking to a Zoom representative in, when was it? I guess it was in April. And he said that at any given time on Zoom in December, there were 100,000 people on Zoom. And in March, it jumped to 300,000 people on Zoom at any given moment. And I
Wow.
said, so what you're telling me is Zoom is hiring. And he said, yeah, but it takes 8 or 9 months for them to train people to be able to troubleshoot things
Oh, wow. Okay.
and be technically savvy enough to help.
Amazingly enough, just in using it, I did not see many problems. I didn't see their site falter, stumble, overload that much. Every now and then you hear about somebody who breaks in and writes dirty words on the screen, but outside of that, they actually handled the influx of traffic quite well, I thought. So.
Brian put a note in the chat about the question that I have up here. And I think this is a great idea, and it's something we've kind of talked about. So basically having like a monthly meeting or a monthly training where we just go over sections of the MAC. So I like that. So that's a great idea.
I think if you start to offer training on your website, I mean, because I've been trying to get full service company involvement, and it's not an easy go, but I think this is maybe, and I know you're shooting for that as well. So and a year in, it's going to take some time, but I think if we have training sessions on there that actually appeal to that group to draw people in, you'll get more and more following, more and more involvement over time, and I think that would be fantastic.
Would they want CEUs? Like, is that something that they need to obtain?
Not really. Well, the contractors need CEUs, so that would have to be accepted for them to renew their contractors licenses. That's in Florida alone, but that's one state. Tina says yes, CEUs are good. So I mean, everybody's a lot of service folks don't need them, but I mean that definitely will draw in some.
Yeah.
But we can have other types of educational classes in there as well, and we can not just talk about what we have going on in these change requests and with the CMAQ, but if we have questions on even if it's short things to put together, 15 30-minute things that you can bring somebody in and just go through, okay, well, how do we do some of these different things, or what we're talking about? Maybe that would be another way to tie it in, because they're a huge hands-on market as well. I mean, that's, what they do. Gwen, what do you think?
I think there's definitely a place for the short version of different issues, because in the CPO courses, we can just touch on certain stuff. Like the information we got on filters and measuring it properly. The whole filter issue that we've been working with in the WAC for many years, that could be cut down into many very important filter videos.
Yeah.
How do we get the crypto out? Using add-ons. Where do we find actual valid information how to do this stuff? And until I learn people like Rudy, who I trust what he says,
Thank you.
Connie, and some of you others, but other people that I run into, do they really know what they're talking about? Especially salesmen. They can't be our source of knowledge because it's always tilted towards our product.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see a real value in doing that. And the other thing is, I don't know if PHTA is going to go requiring us to annually accumulate so many CEUs. And a lot of people who get the CPO need CEUs just for the profession they're in. And they might help us get the CEUs you offer qualified by their national profession. Aquatic PT.
Now, I thought with CPO, I was never CPO certified. I was only AFO certified. So with CPO,
shame on you.
I am sorry. I was under the impression with CPO that you had to take the test to renew it. Can you get
You
CPO
do.
to renew it?
You have to take the test to renew it.
Okay.
So that has to happen. But the renew process, as long as you're still certified, it's expedited. So you can go through that a little quicker. Doesn't have to be the traditional 2-day thing, but I still recommend going that route. Now with the AFO, I know NRPA, they do require you have CEUs. But I mean, honestly, I get 16 every time I teach the CPO class, so I'm good. I do usually somewhere between 50 and 60 classes a year normally. So
Wow.
I was on the road a lot. Now I'm a homebody, and I make my monthly outing to hit the pharmacy, and my big highlight of the day is checking the mail. So it's all good. So
I have found out that a lot of my renewal people prefer to go back into the 2-day classroom.
I would rather they do. If they haven't touched something in 5 years, they don't really remember much of it. An expedited course is only going to set them up so that they struggle with the exam. And then you have to wonder what they go with moving forward. It really just depends on what they do for a living. If you have somebody who touches a pool, sometime one pool as part of what they do, and it's just the same pool over and over again, they get to know that one pool really, really well. But the CPO course covers a lot of different pools, as does the AFO and all of that, and a lot of different scenarios. And then you lose that practice. I mean, it's like calculating pool gallonage. If you only have to do it once, and that was 5 years ago because you wrote it down, you're not going to, be as skilled at it as somebody who's doing it 10, 12 times a week. So it varies. I try to talk people into doing the 2-day class. I always did the 2-day class for the renewal, just because why not? Things change. It's good to brush up. And I was out in the field doing it all the time. So, and I explain that to people. So.
Yeah, the Fusion, there's so much, whether you talk about the Fusion 1-day class or just a total online only, no matter what that is. It's great for getting the base information, but it's not good for that organic conversation where people learn, and even with the 1-day Fusion class, you're trying to get so much in that you still lose kind of that organic conversation, and you wind up almost teaching to the test per se. And
I don't know about that. I mean, I think you teach the course online more the way the course was designed to be taught. I think, it's pretty much, it's a PowerPoint program, and a lot of folks out there, even in person, teach the PowerPoint program, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I was saying before, I'm just not that person. I can't sit and watch something for 14, 16 hours. I got to get up and move around. And if there's a pool out there, I'm going to go play with the pool because I want to see what's going on in it, crawling in through the pump room and all that. But I think I do agree you get more out of that. And that's why I teach. I mean, that's the other benefit of teaching that way. You do get a lot more out of being able to see things, having the sidebar conversations. Even during breaks, I would do breakout periods and just cover other topics that weren't necessarily in the book, but things that people had questions on. Every now and then we'd do series of, we'd have a break, I'd have a zoologist come in and they'd bring in some animals that they might see poolside in that area and stuff. I walked around, with an alligator, a little one, and a zoologist. Different things like that during class. We've done different demonstrations and, all kinds of ways to make relate it more to what they're actually going to see tomorrow out there in the field. So I agree with you from that aspect. I don't know. I guess some people teach to the test. I don't. If you're going to come to my class and learn, you're going to have and pass the test. You're going to have to learn some stuff. So.
Well, and that's my approach too. I've ran across many that do. And before I was a CPO instructor, I sent my staff off, and it seems like they always went to the folks that just taught to the test. And I'm knowing that there's so many things that could be delved into that they need additional knowledge, and they come back and they're like, "Yeah, we learned math," and that's honestly that's an instructor issue. That's not a slam on anybody, and all organizations have that problem where, we try to think that all instructors are kind of equal, and that's not true. Whether you're talking about pool operator, CPR, swim instructor, lifeguarding, supervisor, whatever in our arena, you know, not everybody's equal. And we have some out there that, you know, they really probably shouldn't be teaching, and they teach to the test. But it's that excellence. It's that where we
I
go
agree.
beyond just the certification and really delve into, you know, I don't want to just teach you a certification. I want to teach you what you need to know.
Yeah.
You know, and that attitude's really important.
No, I actually interview the students before the class to find out exactly what their pump room looks like and what their equipment looks like. And I know what chemicals they're using. So I can say, you know, this portion of the class, you're under here, this portion's under this type. And you need to really listen to what, you know, teach to what they're using, plus hitting the basics and how to apply it. And where I work is called maintenance engineers. And, you know, you start talking about the equipment and what they're actually doing and make them take what your knowledge is. But one thing, frustration with me with the CPO and with some of the changes is I would love to see secondary courses or videos that they can go to.
Oh, so teach one. I have courses that aren't CPO. I have classes of my own.
Okay.
Each one.
Okay, I'll talk to you later about it, Rudy.
Yeah, you don't have to wait on anyone else. You're online. You're a teacher. Teach a class. But I don't disagree with any of it. I mean, I stand on the chairs. I stand on the tables. I'm outside. I'm in the pool. I'm around the pool. I'm on top of the filter. I talk about pumps in front of pumps, filters in front of filters. We've backwashed filters in class. We've cleaned pools in class. We've done pretty much all of it. I carry lots of extra insurance too, just in case anybody's wondering. But
would MAC specific courses be of an advantage to health departments or
Thank you.
aquatics
How you doing?
service professionals?
Can I have the keys for Aquatic Solutions, please? Yes, ma'am.
So
I would like to see.
I think yes, but I think we'd have to promote it. We can use it to get more involvement. There are different topics and such like that where we'd really benefit from classes on. I'm a big proponent of trying to get more information out on waterborne zoonoses and things along those lines. And those types of things draw folks in also. I mean, above and beyond just crypto and Giardia and that type of stuff. But I mean, I can help you with that. Will you stop it? So that's my Roddy. He's getting jealous, but I can help you guys with that if you need me to. I can take a look through and see what would make for better topics, and I can share.
Well, we have an education committee now that's looking at courses that we can offer.
Well, I know, but they're allowed to talk to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You'll talk to me.
You'll talk to us.
We've talked before.
Yeah, we've harassed him.
Yeah, it's amazing some of the connections that we find too. Small world.
Yeah.
So, no, I little short videos where these techs, these maintenance techs can go watch. They're hands-on learners.
I'm gonna go let him out really quick, but I'll be right back.
Really quickly. I think
Quickly? Just send me an email. I'll be back.
So, yeah, I can see a market in that, as long as you keep the pricing right. And I was thinking of bundling it, like you buy them by a bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you pay X amount, let's say $100 for 3 or 4 of them, make them $25 a piece, because they may be paying for them out of their pocket.
Right.
You know, simple issues.
Free
on how
for
to
health
deal with this.
departments, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Free for health departments. Because they can't afford anything.
Including including being certified. So,
All right, I'm back. I ran.
I know, we teach our classes for $75 for our local health departments.
Who does that?
In Indiana, it's only open to local health departments, but through the Indiana State Department of Health, we offer a CPO for local health departments for
Okay.
$75.
Is that for the inspectors or is that for your operators as well?
No, we only offer it for inspectors. In fact, we always, we make a point not to post it. And I know this year we had one of our local health departments send it out to all their local operators. And so we were getting a bunch of people sending us applications. We're like, sorry, no, this is, yeah, this is just for local health departments. We're not doing this for everybody.
Oh, Adam, I didn't even see that that was you. Are you there still? It's difficult to teach everything we want people to learn in just 2 days. Also,
I'm here. You
Hey,
guys hear
man.
me? Hey, yeah, I'm working a flu clinic right now too, so I'm listening to this. So this is pretty interesting.
All right, I'm just reading your chat comment. So Adam's a health official and a CPO instructor
I did get my
up
flu.
in Ohio, right, Adam?
Yeah, yes, Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. We went through the CPO instructor school together.
Yeah. So I'm repping the mask at the flu clinic, trying to drum up some business, I guess, maybe for the CMAC. I don't know what we get here, so.
I think it's difficult to teach people in 2 days.
Yeah.
Depending on, see, I've taken the slides and added so much to them, you know, to help me get through stuff and then see stuff. But I also teach a Spanish English class, and that has to be 3 days. And I have found that I've had to teach a lot of math. I've had to teach a lot of words. Most of the public does not know the word turbidity. I have to emphasize and make them repeat back to me what turbidity is, or they can't get that, what the testing is. You know, there's
Well,
a
the
lot.
problem with starting to go beyond a 2-day class is that employers have a hard enough time letting them go for the 2 days back to back. They don't want to lose somebody 3 days or 4 days back to back. It starts to get a little bit more challenging. I mean, we could easily offer like M. Cook, I don't know the first name, so I don't, a 3-day class or a 4-day class. But I think, I mean, do you see, because we have that response there, do you see that there are some folks who just won't or can't come for the 3 days? Steve, you're there too.
Yeah, Steve has always said he's always taught 3 days.
Is that a challenge?
I think it depends on your market. You know, one of the things I'm facing right now is they've got to get home to childcare.
Connie, yay.
And I like Connie's statement, is exactly right.
You know, can you hear me?
Yes.
Rudy, you're doing such a good job. I just decided to keep my mouth shut.
Oh, no, go ahead. I need to take a sip of coffee.
Oh, I just want to thank Rudy and Gwen and all of you CPO instructors for staying on board through all of this. It's been pretty difficult for everyone, I'm sure. But there are times when we can't teach the online. There are people out there that just cannot adjust to the online. We know that. So if we can find some way of combining and offering, even when COVID's over, we're going to have to go back to the live classes. That's for sure. I did teach about 60 department guys a couple of weeks ago, and we actually did it socially distanced in a huge room. Everyone took all the precautions. We had temperatures, we had masks, we were separated, and it worked out great.
They all behaved.
So it takes some work. And it took the apartment association to help, but you can get it done because so many of these guys, they still don't know how to turn a computer on, and we know that. So
Are lifeguarding classes online too? Is anybody on here teaching lifeguarding?
My company is. They're using the Red Cross where they teach all the information online. And then, in fact, that's a pattern we've been using because it allows for more time in the pool. And then we have an indoor pool that we use. And that's been our success pattern for years. I think for at least 3 years now, using the Red Cross lifeguarding. It's a blended form. And the instructors really like it because they can really run them through the drills again and again and again, rather than having to teach and then putting them in the water. And if I can brag, if we get them as employees, they start drilling them immediately and get drilled every couple of weeks.
Are there any state people on here that have any problems with online classes for lifeguards? Or do you require some sort of in-person training?
Well, you've got to do the skills. By doing the online training, you do all the book work online. And then you've got the time that's supposed to be in the classroom, you're 100% in the pool like the old days. I mean, really, it's a format of when I first became a lifeguard in the 60s. It was 5 days long, 4 to 5 hours a day in the pool.
This is Amanda Terrier. We only allow, we'll only accept lifeguarding courses, some of the hybrid courses that do the learning online, but all of the skills practice and evaluation has to be in person. We only recently accepted some remote offerings for pool operator courses through things like Zoom in light of the pandemic and moving forward, just the operational reality. But we don't approve any online only CPR courses, anything that needs skills practice and evaluation. We won't accept any sort of remote learning for that.
I have found that working with maintenance engineers, that if I can afford, when I was traveling, if I can get to them an hour and a half, I would split the class put a day or a week in between the days. Because frequently I will find they have been up all night after day one, taking care of their tickets and emergencies, and they come into class with no sleep. And even on vacation property. So if I don't have to get a hotel, then I try to put a day in between, just because of the world they work in.
Hi, everybody. I do CPO classes where they're scheduled on either one day in a week and the second class the following week on the same day. Or I have some organizations that want to put it on 2 pay periods. So there might be a Friday and a Monday, so that they're on 2 different pay periods.
I know we only have a couple minutes or so. This has been fun to catch up with everybody. Is there anything you guys would like to see CMAC focus on this coming year?
Only what we've already discussed, and
Yeah,
just
training and
greater involvement in that
what
my
about
field.
What about this question? What would make CMAC more valuable to you as members and people that are, working so closely with us and participating?